everybody, and welcome to Kurt's Angle. It's Kurt Johansson, and today I've got a very special guest, somebody I think so unique in the British wrestling scene, and I've been quite vocal. Love to see him in some of the companies like Progress with the Natural Progression series, because I think he brings something completely different. It's the Silverback, Corey McRae. Corey, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. Just got back from work.
So you're not quarantined yet then?
No, not yet. Not yet. I think by the end of this week, that'll be different. But for now, unfortunately, I've still got to get up and go to work.
The pain.
Yeah.
So today all we're going to do is I want to put more of a spotlight on yourself. I think with somebody of your ability, you may not get the exposure that you deserve, quite frankly. Some of the matches that I've been watching of yours in DNA Wrestling as well, absolutely outstanding, main event in the shows.
Thank you.
And I think you do deserve that credit and more of the spotlight on you. But before we get to that, I want to take it back to the beginning and let people know who Corey McRae is. So
Sure.
first of all, why wrestling?
It's funny that I've never been one of those guys that have watched it as a young age. From a young age, I only got into it quite recently, and that was just through watching one of my friends have his first pro show in our local town from where we were. And I watched that and got hooked on that essentially, and thought, let's see what this sport's all about.
Okay, what was it about it that you thought, I want to do that actually?
The attraction to attention. I've always been like the class clown, if that makes sense. Like, I love entertaining people. Yeah. So that was the big thing, and how, when done right, you can draw out emotion from people, while kind of giving them that distraction from their day-to-day life that some of us need. Couple of reasons really like that, and one of them was with the whole MMA background. Never really liked hurting people, and I knew I didn't really know much of wrestling, but I knew the background of it, of like, it's scripted. I won't say the F word, but it's scripted. And with the martial arts, I'm not a nasty person really. I don't like hurting people, and I thought, well, I could do the martial arts side with the fancy kicks and the things like that, while interpreting. What's the word?
Interpreting.
That's it. Thank you. Putting that into the wrestling, knowing that I'm not going to hurt anyone. I'll try not to anyway. So I thought I'd give it a try.
So how long ago was it when you first started training then?
I want to say about 3 years ago now. I think I'm in 3 years. Yeah, 3 years ago.
Where was that, and who was your trainer?
That was in my local town of Harwich, under the School of Slam, SOS, and my trainer is a UK legend, Paul Tyrrell.
Okay. Yeah. So how was that? Like, you've gone from your MMA training, forgetting essentially everything you know, to taking that first bump on the mat. How did that feel?
Well, thankfully, it wasn't essentially forgetting or leaving behind everything I'd learned, because the footwork side of it came in very, very handy. And I think, if anything, gave me that help that I needed to get going. But, boy, God, that first bump, that was it. Yes, because it's the same with everyone. Like, it's not, for me, it wasn't necessarily the bump of hitting the back. It was like trying to control your neck and not have your head hit off the floor as you hit the canvas, which was more of the issue. But yeah, your body certainly felt it the next day.
100%. But you still went going back, and was it eye-opening? Like, what were the differences from your training in MMA to training in professional wrestling, like with the toll it put on your body?
Yeah, it was more because with MMA, it's very stamina-driven, so that you'd constantly be doing drills, and the warm-ups would probably take longer than your actual class. So for the fitness side of it, I was better off as such. When it comes to seminars, I was already used to that kind of drilling of what they'd get you to do with the amount of sit-ups, push-ups, all of that. Already done that, so thankfully that gave me the step ahead there. But I forgot the question. Just chatting so much.
Now, with the differences to the training.
Difference in training, that's it. It was the biggest thing for me was looking like you're trying to hurt someone without hurting them. That was the biggest challenge for me.
How did you find that? Did you end up stiffing many people and like, yo, dude, calm down?
yeah, accidentally. There was a few black eyes, unfortunately. I used to do the Kofi Kingston Trouble in Paradise kick, and on my very first match, I was also against someone that was very, very green, and he'd forgotten a couple of the spots. And when it come to that spot, he just said, "Hit me with that kick because I deserve it." And I was like, "This is a bit weird." So I threw the kick anyway, and he also threw his head into it, like as if he deserved it, which was a bit weird. So he got a black eye from that. That was the first incident. And then I was in a fatal four-way match, and I'd recently blew my knee out, I'd say about a week before. Nothing major, but it hurt to walk on. I needed the straps and all the gimmicks. Wrestled the week later and was meant to give a guy a running bypass knee. And the leg that I was pushing off of to get that knee up sort of gave way. So I didn't get the exact height I needed to make it safe, and ended up straight kneeing the guy in the side of the head, giving him a massive black eye, and for a short time making him unconscious of where he was and his surroundings. And me being as green as I was, I didn't know what was next. And then I asked him what was next, and obviously he didn't have a clue either. So it was all a bit of a mess, but we recovered from what I can remember.
Yeah, the Trouble in Paradise kick. That's the one where you've got it pinned to your Twitter, actually, aren't you? Firing up. Nope, not today.
Yeah, not today. Nope, straight back down. Yeah.
I've got to say, for anybody that's listening right now, head over to it. I'll even plug your Twitter here now. So Corey McRae 96.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is, the execution's fantastic. So you've gone from knocking people out to to making it work, and I'm sure that was like
a lot of
very
practice.
difficult. Yeah, a lot of practice.
Yeah, it was hard to build trust back on that.
Yeah. So how long was you training before you actually had your first match in front of a live crowd?
Ooh, I would say about 5 months.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
which from when you hear about the old timers, apparently that's very, very quick to get into a match, which I 100% agree with.
Yeah. Do you think your MMA helped you with that though?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'd be half, if not a lot more worse off if it wasn't for the MMA. Like I said earlier, with the footwork and the stamina, that was a massive, massive help, because a lot of when you see new people when they're wrestling, they're training, or in their matches, they get what I call happy feet, where you see them dancing on their toes quite a lot because they can't get their footwork right, or they're tripping up over each other when they put in a headlock. So already having that down, because in martial arts, obviously you need a strong base so you don't get knocked off your feet. I already knew hand-eye coordination of where my feet were compared to where my body or my opponent's body was. So that alone gave me that basic foundation of making that match look not as stupid as possible. Yeah.
What was the reception of people then? Like, here you are, coming from MMA, thought you'd give it a go, and 5 months in, you're getting a spot on the show already.
Yeah, it's all the guys at training, like, we're all very close, all good friends. There was never any. I wouldn't say there was any jealousy in it. There may be a couple, like you say at the beginning, saying like, who is this guy? Like, they knew, because I'd make it very clear and always say to people, like, I've never really watched wrestling and I've never tried it before, but like you say, here I come doing it all and progressing quicker than most, and then getting on the shows as well. There was more of that, who is this guy? Like, who does he think he is? More than he doesn't deserve to be there. And I would feel the same way if I was those guys as well. Not that I'm anything special in any way, but like, I can imagine having someone, you say you've done it for so long and you've got so far, and then a guy, like you say, come in 5 months and almost overtake you. That's got, if you're not human, if that doesn't hurt your soul a little, you know.
Yeah.
So it was more of who is this guy, but that soon disappeared after a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the differences that I want to see is your character. So in MMA during the fights, unless obviously you've got Conor McGregor, you've had like Cyborg and stuff like that, where they'll put the personalities across, like the Diaz brothers.
Yeah.
What was your character like, having to be not just a fighter, but you need to get that character across to the audience? How did you find that?
Why is it? You mean as in for the wrestling or during the MMA period?
Just for the wrestling.
Just for the wrestling, yeah. Well, without it being obvious, I watched a lot of McGregor, and McGregor was the reason I got shocker. I know, got into martial arts. So I loved that kind of character and persona anyway. With being the class clown, always trying to be the loudest and the funniest, the most entertaining. That naturally drew me to it anyway. So I kind of went off that, and it's almost like the person I wish I was in a way. Like obviously it's times 10. I've always been a shy, held back kind of guy. Never been violent. Like it takes, surprisingly for being a ginger, like it takes a lot to actually get me fired up. So it's almost like a mix of saying what I wish I would have the balls to say if it wasn't an act. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like it's you catch me backstage or on the street, anything like that. It's completely different. Like it makes me laugh because people say like I haven't got a character and you need a character. When really, if they did know me, they'd see that it is a massive character because I'm not like that in any way. Once I step through those curtains, anything could come out my mouth, any insult, depending on the family show or adult show.
Nah. So it's funny you should say McGregor, because I was like, on one of the shows that I was watching which you was on, I was like, are they chanting Corey McGregor at him? Now I know that they were.
Yeah, they probably were. Yeah, they probably were. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of the whole like fake Conor McGregor, and I've never tried to beat him, but it's just unfortunately with being ginger, and I kind of look. Apparently, I look like him. I personally don't see it, but apparently, I look like him in a stomach tattoo, which I've always wanted. Didn't copy McGregor. It's very hard to do anything and not get called McGregor. Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
At first it was great. I quite liked it because it was like, as deep and weird as it sounds, like I was never really anyone from school to mid-teen, like late teens. So it was nice to have someone to be attached to in that format. But then once I started to grow up and become my own, it was like, all right, now enough's enough. Like even during the martial arts, well, obviously not even. It's more obvious it would come from there. Like a lot of the guys in the training or a comp, so they'd be like McGregor, and that got annoying after a while. And then when I started wrestling, I was like, cool, no one knows me. It's going to be a complete clean slate. I'm going to fucking drop this McGregor shit. No one's going to call me it. And then the first day I don't know. Do I just swear? I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Yeah, you're allowed to, mate. Don't worry.
Sound. Yeah, it's my first training session. The big guy in the ring just said, this guy does know he's doing a McGregor gimmick, doesn't he? I was like, for fuck's sake. I can't escape it.
I think it's going to be, like you said, with the tattoos, with your style. Although I do see that Vinnie Mac McGregor kind of walk after you're doing that.
Yeah. It's a mix of like I like to do it and I kind of don't like to do it because it's easy. It's easy heat and like it's just easy to get stick off of it. But it is that like it kind of shows / entails that I'm trying to copy him, but it's not the case. It's just trying to get easy heat.
I think it had been a couple of years back now. Tommy N, so Alistair Black, he mentioned about wrestlers doing all these kicks, but then him wanting people to actually be trained how to throw these kicks. What's your thoughts on that? Like, you see a lot of people that wouldn't have had any sorts of karate, MMA training, try and throw these kicks as if they are Conor McGregor. What's your thoughts on that? Because it's so dangerous.
It irritates the life out of me. Absolutely jacks me off. I had one friend recently get knocked out cold because one guy threw a black mass and fully connected and knocked him out cold during the match. I I hate to see it, because one, it just looks awful and sloppy.
Yeah.
You can tell you're not trained, and it's just unsafe for even for the match, because I've done it myself. Like, we all make mistakes. You've thrown a black mass or whatever, and your distance isn't quite right, and you just miss, or you miss by quite a bit, and that's embarrassing. That happens, but I'd rather that than you throw it too much and then fully connect. It's just unsafe for yourself, for your partner, because people ain't stretched for certain kicks. They can throw their hips out, their legs out, let alone damaging your opponent. And I'm a very strong believer in, you should not be throwing kicks to that, like leg kicks and chest kicks, like PK kicks and kicks to the back. As long as you know not to throw it straight down the spine and go across the back, fair enough. But anything like Trouble in Paradise's, black masses, head kicks, any head kick really, do not throw them unless you're trained in them, is my opinion, because it's just not safe or fair on both parties.
No, 100% agree.
Not passionate about that at all.
Now, I wanted to ask you it because obviously it is something where it's like, wait, I'm actually trained to make these kicks look something, but you've got Johnny Kick Pads down the road trying to trying to still make it, but do it badly.
Yeah. So that's the other side of the coin for it, because on the safety side of it, I absolutely hate it. But if I'm on the show with someone that tries to do a black mass and I look shite, it just makes me look even better. So it's like, it's that kind of, it's that, do I do it or do you not do it? But it's a song that, like, I've done it a couple of times. If I've seen the guy that I know I've overheard say he's going to do a black mass or a head kick, I'm like, look, when he throws it, put your hand, like, protect yourself like this, just to be as safe as you can. But I know when he throws that kick, I'm going to look twice as good.
How's the reception been when you've been on the shows then from the fans? Because 9 times out of 10, you will be completely different to anybody else on that show. Like, how does that feel?
It's great. It's great, because I know on the later, like, I'm never in this side, but it's the side of the coin of, but it's quite lazy thinking of, I know I'm going to stand out regardless, no matter how much character I put into it or how I'm feeling that day. The kicks will help me stand out, or the character alone will help me stand out. But I never like to think that way. Just performing in that style is going to help with that standing out. And it's hard, because when I started training, I got a lot of people saying, like, if you're a heel, you're not meant to get clapped and cheered, and you make that sport harder if they're cheering the bad guys, but they're going to cheer for who they cheer anyway. Like, everyone loves McGregor, even though he's one of the biggest heels in MMA history, really. So I quite like it, because, again, I'm an entertainer and I've always loved entertaining. So whether you love me or hate me, as long as you feel one emotion to what I do, then I'm winning, really.
As long as they're not getting out the seat to go for a piss during your matches, that's the important thing.
Exactly. And it took me a while, because, literally, I've seen matches where people on their phone, like, we're thankfully in our building that we do our training and some of our trainee shows, we have a balcony that sits, and you can see the whole bottom floor. And you see some matches and people are on their phones, and it's just embarrassing. Like, it's kind of embarrassing, but it's like awkward, because you're meant to be entertaining. But I get there's a lot of people, especially camp shows and kids shows, there's parents that are just trying to keep their kid distracted for a couple of hours, and as long as they're happy, the parents are happy. So you're going to get that. But if you hit a nice clean strike and you make enough noise, there shouldn't be any reason for no one to be on their phone, if that makes sense. You should always have someone's attention. And it's weird, because it took me a long time, and I've watched a lot of Ridgeway's work, and you see it there when crowds are not making any noise, and there's a difference between making no noise and not paying attention. Which has taken me some time to get used to, but it's good, because it means they're interested in and watching and invested.
I think it's a lot with, you see it in Japan, where they're not always going to be chanting, because it's a different sort of appreciation. I think the same with, like, say, Doug Williams as well. A lot of the time it's a quiet audience, but they're just watching at their artwork, essentially. So when you started with SOS, how long was it after making your debut there that you started getting booked at other shows? Because obviously you're working at a few different places now. World War Wrestling, you've got DNA, UKWA, and obviously you go to, is it GWF in Germany or GFW?
Yeah, GWF in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got a It's not been anything. There was before this whole coronavirus. There's potential work in Hungary that was going to be announced, which would be cool. Just want to get there as much as possible. But yeah, with that, the SOS Training School had a promotion that was a pro show. That was almost like that was our training school for that stepping stone up into that pro show.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff has gone on behind the scenes with that show, so I won't name who they are because they don't deserve any clout. They were like you. It's easy to know that history there. So there was that. They were the first people to give me the platform, and then obviously, thankfully, with other shows, and because they did like joint promotions, and thankfully that gave other eyes on me. And then just with what people don't do a lot or enough, should I say, is branch like just messaging promotions, just constantly every month messaging promotions, and then some of them will get so fed up with you they just give you a chance, and you end up impressing them and they use you again. Like it was pretty much what happened with World War Wrestling, really. And then obviously the more people you work with, the more people see you, and then the ball essentially starts rolling from there.
100%. So with DNA, that's like most of the work that I've seen you in. How do you like the differences between maybe more of a family crowd to a more edgier crowd?
Yeah, I love adult shows because I know that there's with them family shows and camp shows, there's that curtain over your head of don't swear, or at least not too much. Where with an adult show, there's to a limit, free reign. So you can enjoy yourself and feel more, especially with a character like mine. Yeah. I love to swear anyway, so knowing that I can cut a promo or during the match say what I want and not get any stick for it, is a big, I wouldn't say a big help, but it's more fun to do adult shows. But obviously a lot of, especially wrestling in the indie scene, is children, especially with the sport that it is today. So you got to sacrifice. I say that because I haven't worked so many adult shows with massive numbers. But it's just simple math. If there's 2 adults and they also bring 2 kids, there's going to be more people. So but adult shows, I'd say, are more fun. I enjoy them a lot more.
With Germany, so we mentioned with GWF, you'd been put in the light heavyweight World Cup recently, which so that's a testament how much they think of you, the fact that you're going to be the English representative. Yeah. How did Germany come around from the beginning?
Yeah, so my friend, I don't know if you know him, Bruce, he worked with the company that shall not be named.
Okay.
And I wrestled him, and we become like good pals, and he has a tag team friend that I've become good friends with, and they're a little group. Basically come close with them, and he worked for GWF a couple of times. Yeah. And he then recently got injured, so he couldn't make the bookings for him, and he kindly recommended me to him, and it literally just went from there.
How was that for your first time, like flying from the UK to Germany for wrestling? How did that feeling? Because it's your first essential, like, big overseas booking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was more excitement than nerves. Nerves came behind the curtain just before I was about to go out. That was when the nerves really hit. But leading up to then, it was all excitement because I'd never been abroad without my parents before. So that was the first time having to do all the airport stuff and flying on myself, which I like adventuring. So doing that was quite fun in itself, let alone the wrestling part of it. But then performing in front of like 600 people compared to the 300 people that I was used to was a thrilling experience.
What's been your best match so far out there? Like, if somebody was going to check out your work in GWF, what would you say?
Mr. Senza Volta.
Yep.
Is my... I haven't had many matches out there, but he's one of my favourite matches of all time, really. there's a couple above that, but definitely in GWF, Senza brought the best out of me because we did a lot in that match. And that was the first time in a much bigger. I think it's the same size as what like the WWE used and the big shows use.
Yeah.
So that was the first time being in that, which was weird because you had to add an extra step in your run. But with everything else in the match that you had to remember and perform in front of a bigger crowd, just everything added up, and it was just a really good experience.
Okay, so I want to kind of go back to your character essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So you're known as the Silverback. What is the Silverback? Where did that come from?
There's no mad story behind that, really. It was just I was thinking of nicknames. I struggled on names as it was, but then I thought of a nickname. And for the size that I am, I've always been stronger than I look in that sense. Like Cesaro, he doesn't look the strongest, but can carry his fair weight around. I sort of just went off that aspects really, without. I don't want to sound big-headed or anything in that sense, but I just naturally just always have been able to lift quite a bit for the weight and size that I am.
Yeah.
And I love gorillas. Like Planet of the Apes is one of my favourite films. And I just really put two and two together and just ran with that. I was meant to change it because it was literally only a starting point. That was like my first nickname, and I was like, by now I've had other people nickname me other things, and I'll run with that. It really just stuck, and I haven't had any other nicknames really. The hard hitting Silverback is the latest one that I've heard, especially with the GWF. But the main bit of the Silverback is just stuck from day one really.
Okay, so for those of you listening as well, the Senza Volta match, that was for the Berlin title, I believe, in July 2019. So you can check that out at Summer Smash 4. So obviously, before this IPW closed, you'd been working for them as well. Like, how was that experience? Obviously, two of your biggest matches there, Karen Hawaii, you had Chris Ridgeway. Talk about those two experiences.
Yeah, working with that. So the promotion that shall not be named, he brought either part of it or all of it off of Billy, which helped me get onto that promotion, which was a mad experience. That was the first time really that, with the promotion that shall not be named, they had some big names in anyway, so I'd got used to being around that higher caliber of wrestling. But IPW was that main one where literally everyone on that show was top level indie wrestling, which was great to be around. Just experiencing, watching the people backstage and how they planned their matches. Not just being in the ring with those guys, but talking to them backstage. But definitely I was annoying. I can happily say, just badgering them with questions of like, how do you prepare for this, and how do you improve your memory? What's that like? What was this like? How do you prepare for this? Just trying to like being a sponge and trying to get as much information as I can, because you never know how long you're going to be in that promotion and how long you're going to be around those guys. So just trying to make the most of it. The in-ring stuff is the same. Like when I go through that curtain, I'm in character, and that's just another fight. I don't care who it is, because otherwise I get quite nervous in those situations. So if I overthink it, it will just end up getting the better of me. So once I'm out there, it's just you're just the guy from training is all I know. But it's only when you're backstage and you've had the match and you can reflect on it and you get your feedback. That's the crucial times there where you improve.
What's the best bit of advice you've been given to somebody at one of those shows, and who was it?
There's been many a few, but off the top of my head, the first one that jumped in my mind there was Ridgeway, and it was about the whole crowd. Like, just because they're silent, you don't have to do crowd work. Like, let the crowd watch your match. It was that, I'd say. Yeah, just don't worry about the crowd. Let them be silent. Silence is sometimes good. He's obviously put it in a much better way than that, but that was basically just it.
So, like I mentioned earlier with DNA Wrestling, it's some of the stuff that I've been watching recently, especially in this isolation. So for those of you listening, head over to Turnbuckle TV. You can watch DNA Wrestling over there. DNA is on one of the free memberships. You can do the standard membership for $3.99. They've got, I think, over like 30 different companies signed up to it now. And then for an additional $3.99. You can do TNT as well. Get all their shows. So, yeah, if you're like me and you're not able to work because of what's going on, you're wanting to watch some wrestling, you wanting to check out Corey, make sure you do. Make sure you do check that out. And as like a little teaser, I'll put it in the notes. I'll put it in the comments section when I post this show on Twitter. Corey, your match with David Starr, DNA Wrestling.
Yes, sir.
That match was fantastic in the main event against somebody is known as Mr. Independent at the moment.
Yep.
How was that match for you?
Hard hitting and a hell of a lot of fun is the simplest way I could sum it up. Yeah, that was just crazy. That was probably the second nervous I've ever been in my life with wrestling.
What was the first?
Speedball. That was my in regards to wrestling. That was my first major match, and that was just the nerves were unreal on that one. But it seems to be the more nervous I am, the better I perform. So I might have to start getting nervous at this rate. But yeah, David.
Yeah.
Cool. No, go on.
Nerves mean you care, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
So going back to the David Starr match, how was the feedback regarding that? And again, it's just been posted all over social media recently as one of the 3 matches.
Yeah.
What was the feedback from Starr himself?
See, that's the thing, especially coming from David Starr. There wasn't nothing that I can jump to the top of my mind. There wasn't anything other than timing on things. Like there was a bit where he'd mocked me with something, and I'd said my comeback before the crowd had finished clapping, so they didn't really hear it.
Okay.
So there was things on that for character and timing. Other than that, he didn't really have anything to say, from what I can remember. I'm pretty sure there was nothing else. It was just timing, really.
Yeah. So with that match, obviously, like I mentioned, in the main event, such a massive show. I think it was Project 4. And then Starr's doing that promo. He's putting the company over as one of his favourite places to work because of how they treat.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
Before I continue that story, what's your relationship with DNA Wrestling? How is that?
My relationships are crazy, really good. They're great guys. They started off as fans of the sport, just like anyone, and they just wanted to give it a go, run their own show, and by God, did they land on their feet. Just the way they treat, there's 2 sides. Obviously, there's business and friends. They're great guys, but on the business side, very kind. There's no pressure. Everyone's having a great time from the moment you get to the venue to the moment you leave. It's all smiles. Everyone's happy to see each other. They make their homemade vegan chili, so everyone can eat. There's sandwiches. There's cans of Monsters. There's coffees and teas and hot chocolates. Water bottles to the end of the world. They have everything prepared for the guys, and you're paid basically as soon as you step through the curtain after your match. It's not none of that chasing your promoter and am I going to get paid tonight kind of thing. You know the deal. You can't fault them if you tried. They're great guys. They deserve all the success that they'll get.
No, that's refreshing to hear. Obviously you hear horror stories with companies and people not getting paid, and for the company to be put over that, and you're in such a high position on their card, how does that feel, like the company trusting you?
Yeah, it's great. Look, with anyone, just putting the trust in me to put me on your shows is more than I can ever give back. Especially with when they first started, the guy that ran the promotion, that shall not be names, advised a lot of us who were originally booked not to do it because they were rivaling another promotion that was running in that area, and they were new guys and they didn't know what they were doing. And so we obviously took that advice, seeing as that was what we thought was the best thing to do by the bigger eyes in our minds. Ended up costing us that book, and we cancelled. They ran the show with other guys, and then that show blew up. And then I think it was a 1 month show, and then one after that they booked me again. So they could, and rightly so, have never used me again. Said you had your chance and you blew it. But the fact that they I don't say forgive me, because it's not like a mad sob story, but the fact that they
didn't hold the grudge.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't hold a grudge. They wanted to use me. They understood. I sent them a message saying apologies that I was misguided. I want to do the show, and they rebuilt that trust. They put it back in me, and they continue to use me, which is fantastic because in good time that they will be one of the biggest promotions in England, I reckon, if not Britain. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, no, I agree. The shows have been fantastic, and they do seem to be going strength for strength. Crowds are increasing, and that's such a positive thing. Like, people use the whole cliche Brit Rest is dead. It's not dead. It's still striving, and there's a lot of companies doing great stuff out there. And obviously, you had another brilliant match, Jody Fleisch. How was that? It's in your blood. It's in our blood at DNA, the latest show, and it was in the tournament match for the DNA title.
Yep.
Cool. How was that being against such a legend?
A legend, definitely. That's the thing, and I mean this with all respect. With not watching wrestling or not being involved in it for a long period of time, obviously I know who Jody Fleisch is, and I know that the caliber that he is and what he's done. The respect on that was there, but for me, just mentally, it wasn't. I was more nervous for David Starr and Speedball than I was for Jody. So being able to enjoy that match and not have that worry of who he was and what he could do and who he'd wrestled, there wasn't that looming over my head, so I could really enjoy that match. Unfortunately, and it happens, it wasn't my best night performance-wise. I'd forgotten a few things, and we'd spent a lot of time worrying about this metal beam that goes across the middle of the ring.
Okay.
And it's quite low down to the point where you can't really springboard or jump off the top rope in certain corners of the ring because you'll hit the bar. So it limited us to what we could do, and we spent a lot of time worrying about positionings and where we've got to feed to be able to do it. So we couldn't really put that much time on the match itself. And the match went pretty good. Not the best I've performed. I know if we went again, it would be twice as good as the match that we had. But just the fact that I could say that I've wrestled, and I know obviously wrestling is what it is, but saying I went over and tapped Jody Fleisch out is a mad accomplishment under my belt in wrestling, which not many people get to say, I don't think, tapping Fleisch out.
No, they don't. I actually really enjoyed that spot as well because it came from nowhere. You did that as if you've just come to life again and did the choke. So, yeah, for anybody that is listening, again, can't stress it enough. Head over to Turnbuckle TV. Head over to DNA Wrestling and check what they're doing as well.
Definitely.
They are doing some great stuff.
Absolutely, guys.
So, moving on then, I mentioned with Brit Rest isn't dead. A lot of that term came from WWE opening NXT UK.
Yeah.
How's that affected yourself since they've signed a lot of the talent? How's that impacted you as a professional wrestler?
Well, the fact that they'd opened that brand gives everyone that hope of doing it full time. There's something to go for. It's not like you have to either make it in Japan or get to the main WWE NXT. There's that UK brand that you can use as a stepping stone. So there's that relief and excitement there. But I wouldn't say unfortunately at all. But like I was coming, I'm still coming up. Like I got into the business as those guys got signed. So I've really seen the people that are currently in the indie scene now. Like I wasn't around or at shows when Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate were performing. Who else? Casasono when he was doing his bits over here. So whether that's a blessing or a curse, I don't know. But I've watched their stuff on the network or on YouTube to do the research and all of that. But I'm not in the sense of the shows missing those guys. I have no idea because I wasn't at any. I was at one Progress show and it was Pete Dunne was there and he got the big pop for the return. So I can only imagine what they were doing when they were smashing the indie scenes. But no, I wouldn't really know or have the right to say on what's missing or if there's anything's missing as such.
Okay, so you've seen all those people get taken up. It's something that used to be so unattainable is now attainable. Like you said, you can do it full time living in the UK. Is that one of your goals, NXT UK?
To be honest, anywhere that allows me to do it full time is the goal. That is the main goal, whether it be Japan or NXT UK or just doing the indie scenes. Even if it gets to a point, like I always try to aim high and like to say that I'd make it to NXT UK. But if it meant sleeping in my car but still wrestling on the indie scenes for a full-time job, then that would be more than enough for me, really.
Yeah.
But obviously, it'd be nice to say that you're a WWE superstar, kind of NXT UK.
What is it about Japan that appeals to you?
Just their style of wrestling, really, which I'm sure isn't a given. Straight away, just the way that they wrestle, how they strike each other. They use, obviously, there's a lot of force behind the strikes. It looks more of a fight than a rehearsal. Yeah.
No, I'd agree. So you said even if you're just doing it full time in the UK, is there certain companies that you're like, Matt, that's where I want to be in front of them, 2020 or maybe 2021, depending how long this coronavirus pandemic's going to be going on for.
Yeah.
Where are the goals domestically then?
Yeah, the givens of Progress and OTT. They're obviously the big goals in the UK. But I will happily wrestle anyone, anywhere, as long as the money's there and I get the chance to wrestle. Then I am happy. But obviously, it'd be nice to be in Progress and OTT at some point, whether it be this year. I'm guessing 2021 would be Progress, but who knows? Who knows?
No, like I tweeted out, the Natural Progression series, I think that something like that would be a great way to show just how great you are.
Thank you.
And that you can step up to being in front of these potentially bigger crowds.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I normally do this with everybody that I'm speaking to, I do one more match, whether it's with collaborators or anybody I'm interviewing. So is there anybody on the scene, maybe if they've been signed by NXT UK, over in Europe, Japan, America, give me 2 or 3 people that they're the match that you want.
Matt Riddle is the first one that jumps to mind.
Yeah,
I think that would be incredible. Who else? That's the thing. Like I say, there's no one. I don't watch certain people or invest in certain promotions. I literally am here just to wrestle everyone and everyone. I have no favourites, or I don't watch a lot of wrestling still. So my knowledge of people is very slim, but definitely Riddle. If we're going off of WWE, obviously Pete Dunne, that would be crazy. But realistically, I think, especially with the Progress links, I'm definitely going to butcher his name here, but Dragunov, is it Ilya Dragunov?
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah, smashed it. Fantastic. I think that maybe down the line, that would be crazy. Just the two character, the clash that those characters could have would be very exciting alone.
And you mentioned you've had some incredible matches, whether it is David Starr, Senza Volta, Speedball, Mike Bailey, Cara Noir, RJ Singh. Is there anybody that you've wrestled so far that you like, man, I want to get in the ring with them again?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah, absolutely all of them. Give them to me every single week if I could. They've all got their individual things that I can learn off of. Like Cara Noir, that character work is outstanding. Probably one of the best characters in the UK scene at the moment. Ridgeway with that similar fighting style and how to take your time with certain kicks or the way you set things up. Speedball with remembering, having your match form out. David Starr with how you what's the word? With the crowd, you interact with the crowd. All of them have got incredible things to take from. So I'd like Speedball again because we were set to wrestle a couple of times. since our match, and they unfortunately have always, like, one of them had a car crash, so I couldn't make the show. So I'd say Speedball if I had to pick one of them, just because that was my best match I've ever had. But ideally, rotate them all round, give them to me every week if I could.
What company was the Speedball match for?
That was for the promotion that shall not be named.
Oh, you've got to be kidding!
Honestly, yeah, literally, that was my first ever big match as well. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, the person that runs it has made the mistakes and cost themselves the promotion and ruined it for a lot of people. But there's always that part of, like, you've got to be thankful for the opportunities that they gave. And that was my first big match and best match I've had to this date, I think.
So 2020, we need that rematch with Speedball Mike Bailey, just so we can talk about it. We can talk about the company. We can talk about the matches.
Yeah. And I could talk about the match of that. I just don't want to give that promotion any.
No, that's fine.
Eyesight, you know.
But it's good to see that I do a series where it's like from the ground up with people that are relatively new, and I think it's a great insight, the fact that you've spoken about being misguided by people and people saying, well, you can't work there, you can't work here. I think it's really good to hear you say that openly, because it does happen and it can affect people. So what would you recommend to anybody that's maybe trying it out, whether it's transitioning in from a different sport like MMA, or if they're just wanting to pursue professional wrestling and a company is dictating where they can and cannot work?
Tell them to kiss your ass. Like, go with your gut. The gut is the smartest person you'll ever meet. I always believe in. Just if you think it's right, go with it. And if you're wrong, that's where you grow as a character and as a human. You learn from those mistakes and you know not to do them again. Just going off of guidance of what other people say, you never really know. You think that they know better, and you're obviously told growing up that adults and the more experienced people know better. But at the end of the day, a white belt can always tap out a black belt. It's very rare and highly unlikely, but there's still a chance of that happening. So they might advise you with certain things, like what happened to us, and they end up being wrong. So I'd rather be wrong on my own die on my own shield, if that makes sense. Not to get all like motivatory or anything, but
no,
I'd rather you know what I mean. I'd rather make my own mistakes and learn from them than make someone else's mistake.
Yeah.
So just do whatever you want to do. I highly recommend whatever sport you're going to get into, if you're thinking of doing something, martial arts, 100%.
No,
start there. No worries.
No. Thank you, Corey. Well, thank you for coming on the show. Like I said, it's not just blowing smoke up your ass. I don't say it to every interview.
Not at all.
It is a case of when I'd been watching those matches, like thoroughly impressed. And
thank you.
I'd recommend anybody check, if you're not watched Corey's work yet, make sure you go check him out. The fact that you started training 3 years ago and you're as good as you are already is scary. So it'll be interesting to see, like, just how good you will be in 1, 2, 3 years time.
Absolutely.
And I'll look forward to getting you back on the show, and we can talk about all those and talk about that elusive Mike Bailey match.
That final rematch that finally happened. Absolutely.
Yeah. But Corey, where can everybody find you?
On Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter is Corey McRae. YouTube, there's plenty of matches on there. Like you say, Turnbuckle TV. There's many a show on there that I'll be on. But yeah, all my socials are Corey McRae. Like you said, Twitter's Corey McRae 96. But as long as you search Corey McRae, then I'm sure you'll find me.
No, brilliant. And obviously, I've got listeners. They'll be all over the place. So they may be in Australia, they might be in America, England, Scotland, Wales.
Hell yeah.
If you check out these matches with Corey and you like what you see, even if he has to jump on the plane, like, is that his first experience going to Germany without his parents? Like, he'll happily go to Australia and America and stuff like that.
I'd love it. I would love it.
Make sure you check it out, especially that David Starr match. Absolutely incredible. and tweet your local promotions or tweet the promotions you like watching on video on demand or TV. And let's make sure Corey gets the exposure that he deserves.
Yes, help me blow up.
100%, man. So this has been Kurt's Angle Pod. You can find me at Kurt's Angle Pod. You can find me over at Ringsiders Pod as well. And if you just want to chat on my personal one, at Johansson93 on Twitter. And yeah, this has been the interview with the Silverback Corey McRae. Corey, thanks again, mate. Take care.
Thanks for having me, bud. See you guys later.